Today I'm going to be sharing with you the entire framework on how to get started with high ticket closing and how you can make 8 to 12K a month doing so. Welcome to the most valuable video that I've ever created on YouTube. It's literally the exact same framework that's allowed me to make $25,000 a month in commissions, traveling the world, working in Bali just 4 hours a day. It's the same framework that we use with Riley, who just hit $17,000 in commissions just last month at 100% profit. And of course, it's the same framework as all the other case studies on my YouTube channel and all the results you see on my Instagram. What are we going to cover in this video? This is going to be an entire free A to Z course on what you need to get started and be successful with this business model and this skill, and how you can get started as a high ticket closer or as an appointment setter. Here's what we're going to cover: what high ticket sales actually is and how much you can make realistically, what role would be perfect for you in your situation, whether or not it's an appointment setter or a high ticket closer, how you can start using the skills so you can create a life of freedom that you've probably always wanted, the 3 other skills that are required for your success in this industry, and finally, the new way of finding high paying sales opportunities in the space that can allow you to put yourself in the position to make anywhere from $3,000 to $12,000 a month. If you don't already know me, my name is Connor Healy, and I've been working in this industry full time for the better part of the last 5 years. Started out working 38 hours a week in retail, earning about $30 an hour. I've never been to university, yet I make and have made more than a doctor's salary the last few years. And to top it all off, I just passed maths in high school by 1 mark, and I even failed science class. You're not going to hear too much about me in this video because there's plenty of that already on the channel. Mainly, I just briefly wanted to touch on that just to show you what's actually possible. I've had some great guidance from some much more smart individuals than myself that's led me to the position that I'm in right now. My purpose for this video is to share with you all the lessons, insights, and learnings I've had over the past 5 years with you right now. This video is for a special certain type of individual who, like myself, wasn't willing to settle for average, always knew that there was something more, and just needs a path and a vision and a vehicle to execute on. Make sure you like and save this video so you can refer back to it later, because this video could potentially change your life forever. Now, make sure you stay to the end of the video for full context, because if you even skip one section or one module, a lot of what I'm going to talk about later on won't make any sense and it'll be a complete waste of time for you. Don't scroll the comments, open this video in full screen, give me your attention, take some notes, because this is going to be the most valuable high ticket sales video you'll find on YouTube. High ticket sales is the best opportunity I've ever seen in my entire life. From every single business model, I've never seen anything in my entire life that is so beginner friendly that allows so many people to hit their first 10K profit month. It's literally so ridiculous how fast you can get there. And we've seen this across the board with everybody that takes action, because sales is one of those rare skills where your effort and your results are directly correlated. If you put in the work and use the right strategy and learn the right skills, you make money. It's literally as simple as that. The only requirement with our strategy is you take full responsibility and work extremely hard. If you do that and you follow exactly what I tell you in this video, you're going to make money. So let's take a step back for a minute and explore what is high ticket sales. To fully understand how this industry came about, we need to take a long look back to the year of 2013. If you've been online for a while, you've got an Instagram account, a Facebook account, you've probably been hit with some ads from people selling courses. Back in 2013, it was pretty much like, give us $297, $997, and you can come and watch all this training content in a course. But what happened pretty quickly, because a lot of people caught in this strategy, the competition became really, really high, and it became much harder to actually make money just by selling information for a one-time fee. This drove advertising costs up for these course sellers and made the whole process, the whole operation, not nearly anywhere near as profitable as it once was. People stopped digging for gold and started selling shovels. This created an evolution of the e-learning industry and caused everyone to transition to the high ticket model. Instead of charging $297 or $997 just for a digital course, a lot of these e-learning businesses created more valuable offers and started charging $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000. But all this meant was, instead of just running ads that basically created traffic to a web page, it was now to a person with a one-to-one call to sell more of a high ticket product. If we put all the pieces together, long story short, these business owners very quickly realized that they do not have the time to hop on all these calls with these interested prospects for their high ticket courses that they're selling. Let's say an entrepreneur is trying to grow their business. They do not have anywhere near the amount of time they need to hop on with all these one-on-one calls with potential interested clients. So they have to put all their energy and their focus in other areas of the business, like accounting, team, marketing, operations. You get the gist. So that's where high ticket closers come into play. We can take just a small percentage of what the customer spends on each transaction. The business owner is typically pretty happy to do this because you're not taking any money from the business and you're only taking a small cut of what you do. Sounds fair enough, right? So basically there's a ton of businesses out there that sell packages from $3,000 all the way up to $50,000, even $100,000 at some points, and you can take a small percentage as a high ticket closer. Now, there isn't just one role when it comes to high ticket sales, because you can still learn another skill which is more of an entry level position, which is classed as an appointment setter. Let's break these down. When we're talking about an appointment setter, don't think of it as you calling random strangers who don't want to buy from you, have never heard of your company or your business, and are going to swear you off the phone. But what you're doing is actually reaching out and calling to people who have already expressed interest in the brand or company that you work with. For example, Tony Robbins. Chances are he probably has a Facebook group, a YouTube channel, and a ton of other places where they generate what is called leads. And your job as an appointment setter is to take people from I need some help to booking a call on your high ticket closers calendar or your own calendar if you're setting for yourself. Basically, the difference between them expressing their interest and putting the information down and actually booking a sales call. Now, don't let the simplicity of that make you become disinterested. Appointment setters are a critical part to every sales process, and you can make anywhere between $3,000 and $15,000 a month doing so. My personal appointment setter who was working with me earlier on in my career was making $10K a month working about 4 hours a day. Now, we've already touched on the closing role, but of course, as that role requires more skill, the more commissions that you can likely earn. Basically understanding why it's a good fit for them and why they should move forward. Now let's talk about what are you actually even selling in the first place? There's so many different types of offers out there. Think of anything that could upgrade your life. Amazon FBA, crypto, dating, fitness, relationship coaching, you name it. How do I grow my YouTube channel? How do I invest in real estate? How do I make more money? There's hundreds, if not thousands of offers out there that might align to your values and your beliefs. So maybe there's a specific program out there that helps young guys in their 20s get fit, healthy, and pack on some muscle, and that's the same transformation that you've gone through. Honestly, it actually depends and it's personal to you, but I would strongly recommend that you find something that you actually enjoy and that you're actually interested in. Okay, so how does the money actually work? How much money can you actually make in this industry? Big disclaimer, this is not a get rich quick type of business model whatsoever. This will take time, this will take a lot of energy, and it will take a lot of effort, and you will absolutely fail a lot along this journey. I can assure you of that. But if you're willing to put in the effort, you can make this work. I often talk about on the YouTube channel, if you have an income goal, you need to have the same level of effort that matches it. If you have a 10K goal, you often need a 10K effort. This one skill, if you can learn sales, and I mean you really learn to communicate at a high level, you will be set for the rest of your life. So let's break down the money making aspect. Generally across the board as a closer, you're going to be making 10% of the offer price. This can vary based on the business, but that's generally what we see across the board. Let's say you have 5 calls every single day, 5 days a week. That's going to give you 25 opportunities every single week. And keep in mind, these are warm opportunities. People who know about the brand or people who have already watched a couple videos about the business and the company that you work for. If you can stay within KPI, which is the key performance indicator for the offer, let's say it's 25%. You're going to make 10% of a $5,000 offer, which is $500. And if you're selling a $10,000 offer, it's $1,000 per offer. And if you're selling a 10K offer, you'll make $1,000 per sale. Let's break this down one more time with a $7,500 offer. If you have 25 calls a week and you're at the bottom end of a closing rate at 20%, that's going to give you $750 per close. It's going to give you 15K of net income. So keep in mind, with any of the other traditional online business models, you'd have to make anywhere between $40,000 to $100,000 per month to hit the same level of profit. Drop shipping, Amazon FBA, coaching businesses, marketing agencies. These businesses all have operating costs, employees, marketing ad spend. You get the gist. Here's where the fun part comes in. We're only taking consideration that you're closing at 20%. There's clients where we train, where we help improve their skills, where they go from 20% to 30% to 40% to 50%. And the more you convert, the more you close, which bring all those other numbers up that we spoke about earlier. Some might even say that you work more hours, which is absolutely going to bring more of those numbers up as well. Because the more opportunity you have in your calendar, the more people you sell, the more money you make. Or maybe you just end up selling more expensive stuff, which could be $10,000 all the way up to $100,000. Okay, so that's for closers. Let's talk about the appointment setter role now. Most have a base pay of around 1.5K a month and typically get paid a commission of between 3 and 5% of the total order value. Average KPIs can look like this: 20 appointments set every single week, 30% of those close, so 6 set to closes every single week, which results in you generating 24 closed deals every single month. 24 times 300, which is 3% of a 10K product, totals around 7,200 every single month. Plus your base pay would be around 8,700, plus any other commissions or bonuses that you get that month based off how you perform. Keep in mind, this is just an entry level position. Try and find me an entry level position that will allow you to earn that type of money. Module 2, mindset. Now you actually understand what the model is, let's explore building your foundations. I know, I'm talking about mindset, but understand what you believe you will achieve. Working on my mind is one of the biggest needle movers that has completely changed my entire life. Understand that your entire life is built up of a large sum of beliefs. If you're surrounded by family and friends that don't think that making money online is real, you'll believe that and that will become your reality. Before even trying to make money online, you have to first assess your worldview. Do you even think making money online is even possible? Do you have the belief that college is the only way to make you successful and get you to where you want to go in life? Do you believe that you have to work a 9 to 5 your entire life, make the same money as everybody else, and work hours upon hours, slaving away week on week, month on month, just for the smallest minimal pay raise as you continue to get better and more experienced? Everything your parents, your teachers, your friends tell you may not even be real in the first place. Understand you have created your entire reality up until now. I didn't learn a lot from my mentor, but if I did learn anything, it was the first video in the course that I watched, and this is a $7,500 lesson, so listen very carefully. Everything in your life is there because you manifested it or because you allowed it. Let me say that again. Everything in your life is there because you manifested it or because you allowed it. The day you begin taking control is the day that you begin taking accountability. When you take full ownership, this is when your entire life changes. If you're not making the money you want, it's your fault. If you don't have the car you want, your fault. Are your parents not retired yet? It's your fault. Now, I understand in some occasions it may not be your fault, but it is 100% your problem and your responsibility. If you really take on what I just said, that advice can change your life just as it did mine. This key mindset took me from never getting any results online for years to hitting 10K a month seemingly overnight. Do not take what I just said to you lightly. Module 3, the founder framework. To get any short-term or even long-term success in this industry, you need to stop thinking like a 9 to 5er and start thinking like a founder. Let's break this down. Most people bring an employee mindset into a role that you're paid in direct correlation to the results that you bring to the table. This is where most go wrong. In fact, it's why so many people don't see anywhere near the results they're actually looking for in this industry. They give what I like to call an employee effort. Guys, if you're looking to make more than a doctor or a CEO, you're going to have to start thinking differently. The way you make decisions now as the identity that you hold now is fundamentally flawed. This is probably the exact same reason why you haven't got anywhere near the results you actually wanted with all the other things you've tried in the past. All it literally is a shift in identity, a shift in mindset, and a shift in your decision-making skills. Let me give you an example. We all make decisions based off our current perspective, right? Right. And do you want that same decision-making process that's got you to where you are today, to watching this video, to dictate your results moving forward? Probably not. An overweight person is only overweight because they think, act, and behave as an overweight person would. They don't track their eating, they don't go to the gym consistently, and they do all the things that an overweight person simply would. At the core, like I mentioned before, they have a fundamentally flawed decision-making process. This is why they are the way they are. To become the fit person, you need to act like it. It's not do, be, have, it's be, do, have. You need to become the person before you even see the person. The fit person eats well, tracks their calories, and goes to the gym consistently. So what am I actually saying here? To get business owner results, we need to act like one. We need to act like a founder. We need to think of ourselves as a business, not just as a sales rep. Introducing to you the founder framework. The founder framework is just simply a philosophy or a lens that you can view your sales career through. It has 4 parts. Part number 1 is leadership, aka personal development, aka your mindset, as we just spoke about earlier. Part number 2 is marketing, aka networking. How do you, as a high ticket closer, generate more opportunities for yourself and more clients so that you can actually make the money that you want? Part number 3 is sales, aka interviewing. Once you generate these opportunities, how do you actually close new clients so that you can work with the very best clients and offers in the industry? Part number 4 is fulfillment, aka sales. How do you deliver for your clients? How do you treat your clients? What is your relationship with your clients? This is the final part to the founder's framework. We'll talk more about these skills later on in this video. However, now you have a lens, a frame, a way of thinking that's going to enable you to have the most successful career in this industry possible. Module number 4. Education. We can't solve problems with the same level of thinking that created them in the first place. That's a quote from Einstein. Investing into yourself is one of the most highest ROI things you can do in this modern day and age. And I don't mean traditional education either. And I'm not talking about university. I'm talking about directly investing into the skills, investing into you so you become more valuable to the marketplace. You can absolutely do all of this on your own, and there are plenty of people that are successful in doing that. However, in the past, I've made the educated decision to work with someone who's much farther than me me to shorten, not lengthen, the time of trial and error it takes to actually achieve the goal that I want. As one of my mentors told me, I stand on the shoulders of giants. Instead of sending a bunch of random cold messages to business owners, hoping and praying that it would actually get me a result, I decided to take half of my net worth, all my savings, or half my savings from my retail job and invest it straight into a mentor to get the help that I really needed. And over the past couple of years, I've worked with many mentors to help shorten the learning curve. The skill of making smart decisions is one of the biggest things that's made me successful. Finding a mentor, building a great relationship with them, and walking the path that they've walked. If you're open and you want to work with a mentor that has successfully walked this path for many, many, many years, you'll find there's a link below in the video description and you can apply for my mentorship to see if you're a fit. This is not some BS marketing trick just to promote my program. I genuinely do think that you should get a mentor. Collectively, I've spent over $170,000 of my own money on skills, training, education, information, and mentors, and it has benefited me massively. $55,000 of that was directly into sales training. Most people have never done anything like that their entire life. And step into the unknown and give a stranger on the internet thousands of dollars, like myself, I gave my first mentor $7,500. It was one of the scariest things that I've ever done. But I want you to ask yourself this question: what's more risky? Staying in the same position that you're at or taking a risk? I'll share with you a quote from Tim Grover. If you think the cost of winning is high, just wait till you get the bill of regret. If you don't have the money, become resourceful. You need to understand the reason most people can't afford things is because of a lack of resourcefulness. I've spoken to people on sales calls for years, and even if they didn't have the funding, the resources, the capital to invest right now, even if it took them weeks, months, even up to a year sometimes, they would always come back to me and basically say, hey, Connor, I'm ready. Here's the money. Let me get the skills, because they knew that if they had the right information, the right strategy, that they would be successful. They just need to get access and apply it. Again, I'll link exactly how I help people shortcut the path down below. If you want to do this by yourself, just understand there's a few factors at play here. Your chances of giving up is exponentially high. How do I know? Because I did that for years. You may be in a similar position. You hit your first roadblock or your first problem, and then you say, that's it, I give up. Then you're on to the next business model, the next shiny object, the next new thing, and the vicious cycle continues over and over and over again. Even if you do stick with the one thing, how do you fix a problem with the same level of thinking and information that created it in the first place? You just simply don't have enough nuanced feedback that you actually need to be successful. My mentor once told me a story about him and his brother when they ran a business doing business coaching and consulting for coaches and consultants. They sold the exact same product, the exact same service, the exact same thing to 6 people. One for 5K, one for 4K, one for 3K, one for 2K, one for 1K, and one for completely free. Can you guess who got the best results? And the worst? It's pretty obvious, right? Money is simply a unit of energy, and the more that you commit, the more effort that you put in. I spent as little as 3K and as much as 20K in one single investment in my skills, training, and development. Over the years, I've found the more money I invest in myself, the more money I make. Finally, the time it takes to be successful with anything multiplies exponentially. Think about it. If you can't ask the right questions and get the right clarity and confidence that you need to take the action that you need to do, the length of time it will take to achieve anything will take infinitely longer. But here's the catch: you can't get time back. Once it's gone, it's gone. Remember, you can always make more money, but you can't create more time. Learn from someone else. It's the same idea as reading a book. Would you really leave someone's lifetime of learnings that they want to share with you just collecting dust on the shelf? Module 5, sales. So how do we actually sell? Let me be the first to tell you, it's not going to be the traditional way that you've seen Jordan Belfort in Wolf of Wall Street, boiler room sales type activities. It's not going to be like that at all. You're not going to be running around the boiler room, bum tapping all your buddies as you make a sale and shoving every stock you can find down a prospect's throat. We're definitely not going to be doing that today. All sales is a series of asking questions. A series of questions that allow the prospect to come to their own conclusions and persuade and influence themselves to change. I'll share with you 2 quotes here. What you say is garbage, what the prospect says is gospel. I learned this from a mentor. Say it again with me now. What you say is garbage, the prospect says is gospel. The next quote is from Dale Carnegie, which is, a man convinced against his will is of the same opinion still. All we're trying to do here is allow the prospect to have a container and a space to make the best decision possible, personal to their own circumstance and situation. So how do we do that? We ask them the right questions with a structured dialogue that takes them down a specific path. Questions like, what are you looking for? What are you currently doing to solve X, Y, and Z problem? Why not just do this on your own? What have you looked at? And what do you actually want? The best way to learn any sales process is breaking it down into phases and outcomes. What's the goal? What have they used to solve this in the past? What's the ideal solution? What are the ramifications if they don't do anything about it? And what do they need to change? The best salespeople I've met have been genuinely curious people. The more curious you are, the better answers you get. The better answers you get, the more sales you make. As you ask these questions, you find out more and more information about the prospect. If you're looking to mind map this, you want to find out about the prospect past, present, and future. All that you're doing here is asking a specific question to get a specific answer. Sales fundamentally at the core is just change. You're getting the prospect themselves to create an inner desire to change the situation, not the other way around. We're not pressuring anybody into anything. Remember about the quotes that we mentioned earlier. When we ask the right questions, we'll elicit emotion. People buy with emotion and justify with logic. Hence, if you're a good salesperson, majority of your sales call should be a discovery process. It should be you asking questions the majority of the time. Only about 10% of the time of the call should be pitching or presenting a solution to the prospect. More on that later. To understand and get very good at sales, you need to become very, very good at helping the prospect not only identify with you, but with themselves, their current situation, and what they actually want. Because without these things in greater detail, when you try to create urgency, you'll hear answers like, well, it's not going to be that bad, or I'll eventually figure it out. It's incredibly important to ask the right questions to correctly identify your prospect's current circumstances. A cardinal sin that will prevent you from doing so is assumption. Never, never, never assume. If the prospect says, I want to make more money, expand on this, right? More money means different things to different people. To a million gazillionaire, lots of money could mean millions and millions of dollars, right? Or hundreds of millions of dollars. But more money to someone who makes $5,000 a month could mean $1,000 a month, right? You really truly never know. So make sure that you never assume the prospect says. So ask questions that correctly identify the prospect's circumstances. Okay, so let's talk about how to pitch. I want you to think of this less like pitching and a lot more like presenting. Let me explain what I mean here. All you're doing when you're showing a solution to a prospect is just feeding back what they said and they told you they wanted back to them. Really simple. For example, the way that you lay out each deliverable of what you offer is going to be in pillars. Understand the prospect doesn't really actually care about what you offer. They care on how it directly changes their current life and situation. As I mentioned earlier, your presentation should never be longer than 10% of your total call length, time, and duration. A big mistake a lot of new salespeople make is making their presentation as boring as watching paint dry. This will lose you sales and a ton of opportunity cost. Here's what you're going to do. Take all the deliverables of the offer that you're currently selling and break it down into 3 to 4 pillars. You're going to go ahead and structure it like this. You know how you said, well, what we do for that is, and how that will affect you is X. Now, all that you're doing is again referring back to that point of giving the prospect an understanding that you were listening to them the whole time that you have the sales call and just feeding back into the solution exactly what they said that they wanted. And what you have to make sure that you do is the start of each sentence of each structure of the pillar has to change, because otherwise the prospect might hear you repeating the same things and register that as a technique, which can induce and increase sales pressure and sales resistance. The final part of presenting in pillars is the checking for agreement question. Like, for example, does that make sense? Do you see how this could help you? Are you following with me? What this actually does is make sure that your prospect isn't falling asleep during your presentation and is actually engaged. Now, once you've gathered, presented, and mutually understood between you and the prospect that the solution that you're offering is in their best interest and they want to do it and they've told you why, we move to the next part of the process, which is asking for the sale. Now, this is where the majority of new salespeople mess up. So listen closely, because this can be done with zero pressure and never having to push anybody into anything at all. I've sold for years and years and years and years, and I've taken thousands of sales calls at this point. Very rarely have I ever seen someone ask for a refund after using this particular method. Understand, before we do that though, it's in your moral and ethical obligation to sell your solution to your prospect if you think that it can help them get to where they want to go and they've told you that they wanted it in the first place. Now, after contextually explaining to you the understanding of the presentation, you might be asking, where does the price go? For me, what works best is announcing my price at the beginning of my presentation. Here's why. Most salespeople like to announce and reveal their price at the end of the presentation and wait for an awkward silence. For me, I've done that in the past and I genuinely didn't like it. And it's not a way that I like to buy. So typically I put my price at the top of the presentation so the prospect, before going through my pillars, already knows what it's going to cost and isn't worrying about that the whole time I'm talking to them about the solution that I offer in the first place. Most prospects will probably be wondering what the price of the actual thing everything is that you're selling the whole time that you're talking and presenting their solution. So for me, I like to get that out of the way so they can focus on how our solution can actually help them get to where they want to go and can achieve the goals that they want to achieve. In my opinion, there is no wrong or right way with this one. It's just a personal preference. So anyways, after the presentation, you're going to be asking for commitment. You're going to be asking questions like, do you feel like this can get you to where you want to go? Do you feel like that was what you were looking for? And you're going to follow up with, why do you feel like it is though, right? Why do you feel like it is though? From here moving forwards in the sales conversation, you and the prospect now have an in-principle agreement that your solution and what you're offering is in their best interest moving forwards. And now you can ask for the sale. Bing bang bosh, you now just made $300 to $1,000 for taking an hour phone call. Now, is it all that easy? No. It'll actually take a really long time to develop your sales skill and get really good at it. But it's totally worth it because you can basically develop a skill that will allow you to literally spawn money out of thin air for yourself in commissions and for the businesses that you work for. And plus, as a bad added bonus, you get to help a ton of people get to where they want to go along your journey as well. Module number 6. Handling concerns, aka objection handling. All right, so now we can talk about the most stressful part for most, which is objection handling. To first understand how to objection handle, we need to first understand what it actually is. All objection handling is handling a concern that a prospect has about changing the situation or moving forwards with the solution that you're selling. Now, there's 2 crucial fail points as to why most people actually fail with objection handling. Number 1, they don't have a structure, and number 2, they run out of things to say. Let's cover the 2 categories, fear and logistical. For example, there's a difference between not having the money and not wanting to spend the money. Let's break this down. If someone doesn't have the money, it's a very logistical conversation between you and another human about how they can get the funding, the resources, the capital to put towards their skills or the solution that you often provide so they can change the situation and get to where they want to go. For example, that's not a problem. Funding aside, is this something that you still want to do? Prospect says yes. Great. And so what are some ways that you can find the funding or get the resources that you need so that you can learn the skills to get to X, Y, and Z goal that you mentioned earlier? You're going to lead them down a logistical pathway of getting one of these 5 commitments. A PIF, which is basically meaning paid in full, which means you collect all the cash, the full payment upfront. Number 2 is going to be payment plan. So breaking down the payments for the solution you have down to different payments. Number 3 is going to be a deposit. Number 4 is going to be credit card details. And number 5 is a verbal commitment. Obviously, top being PIF and verbal commitment being the last weakest level of commitment that you can possibly get. Now, don't get offended and don't blow up like normal average salespeople would. You need to be as calm and as detached as possible during this process. Understand, just because the prospect may not be able to afford your solution now, it doesn't mean that they won't be able to later. I've had sales calls that didn't close on the spot, but closed 6 months later. And you will find that when you stack a lot of those people up, a lot of commissions is left on the table when you don't follow up and push people away. So make sure that you don't trigger sales resistance in the prospect here and don't push people away just because they don't have money right then and there on the spot. If the prospect really values what you're offering and knows it's the solution for them, they will become resourceful and they will find the capital that they need to put towards to it so they can get to where they want to go in regards to their dream state, their dream solution, their dream end goal. When you get a rejection, all it basically means is the prospect has something that they're unsure about. You want to think of it more like a concern. Most salespeople panic when they get an objection. That's why most actually fail in this process. I spent over an hour objection handling someone. It took 30 minutes to take payment. He got great results. But the reason I was able to do that is because I was calm, I was collected, and I was detached. That is simply the result of a good objection handling process. It's not just getting them over the line and changing the situation. It's turning them into a good client for the business that you work with. Remember that. If the prospect is in fear of spending money, all you have to do is guide them through their concern. Right, and that would make sense because we all make decisions based on our current perspective, right? Right. And are you 100% happy with the results you're getting in regards to X, Y, and Z? Okay. And do you want that same decision-making process to dictate your results moving forwards? Okay, well, why not? Why not just push it down a couple weeks, months, and years? Why do something now? Right. Now, you've got the perfect strategy. You've got the perfect strategy to be where you're exactly meant to be right now. Whatever you're doing, it's perfectly fine based on your decisions, thoughts, feelings, actions, and the meaning you've attached to everything in your life. We as humans are perfectly designed to be where we are meant to be. You've been running an unconscious strategy and an unconscious patterns of thinking that have led you up to this point in your life. If you would like to change that pattern, it's going to require a new you, a new way of thinking, new actions, new skills, and capabilities. Otherwise, you'll never be able to change. Can we agree on that? Okay, so what do we have to do? What do we have to do to put ourselves in the best position so that you can get what you said that you wanted? Now, tying back to what I just said before, the reason that we objection handle concerns just like this is it comes back to that quote that I mentioned earlier from Dale Carnegie, which is a man convinced against his will is of the same opinion still. And you need to get the prospect to influence and persuade themselves as to why they need to change rather than forcing to do anything. If you force someone to do something, it's going to end up being a bad client. It's going to end up in refunds, and it's just not going to work very well for you or the business that you work with. Module 7, the formula for success. So now we know a little bit about on how to sell for our clients and fulfill for our clients what's actually required to be successful in this industry. There is a hidden formula for success that not a lot of people actually know about, and it is actually as simple as you would think. The formula is as follows. If you have a 10K goal, you need to have a 10K strategy and a 10K effort to match it. 10K strategy plus 10K effort equal 10K result. Let's break this down. The reason most people aren't successful in this industry, if anything, is not because of their sales skill. It's actually the opposite. It's their strategy in landing good opportunities in the space. Think about it. A good closer on a bad offer is going to make less than a bad closer on a good offer. Why? Because the offer is better. The leads are better. The company's better. The brand is better, right? The fulfillment is better. If you have a better offer, you're going to simply make more money. Let me give you an example here. A couple years ago, I worked for an 8-figure company where the highest earning sales rep on the account was making about $50,000 per month in commissions. And the lowest sales rep was making about 20 to 22,000 in commissions every single month. Now, the lowest sales rep on the team, although he was a fantastic guy, let's call him John. John was an amazing, nice dude, but he was terrible at sales. He was very robotic, his tonality wasn't good, and he didn't really have that much skill at all. But all that he did was follow a process that was already proven to be successful for the company, and he was making more than a lot of other people with very fancy degrees make. Why? Because he is on a good offer and a good opportunity. The vast majority of new sales reps in this industry aren't successful for the simple fact that they attack the industry with a $100 strategy and a $5 effort. They expect just because they've paid someone a large sum of money that automatically guarantees them success. That simply just could not be further from the truth. So the question you might be asking yourself is, what is a $100 strategy and how can I avoid it? A $100 strategy is sending cold DMs to business owners. This is a strategy that someone years ago thought up as the best and most effective way to land roles in this industry. And maybe back then it worked, but 90% of the industry are struggling to find good jobs. Marketers will tell you, oh, business owners are lining up to fill your pockets with cash. Personally, I was like, well, where are they? They never showed up. Let's take a step back and look at any other job landscape in any other industry, not just high ticket sales. The internet has made it more easier and more accessible than ever to land jobs in any industry. However, what this has done is created ridiculous amounts of competition and very, very hard to land jobs through traditional methods that we have today. What we're talking about is job posts, posting in Facebook groups, filling in applications, sending off resumes, etc., etc., etc. Let's run some math and look through some general statistics that I've found with a very quick Google search. There is an average of over 350 applicants per a singular job post. In every hiring process, it's all about how you look on paper. Not actually you, not your personality. They don't know you. They just know what's written on a piece of paper and your resume and the form that you've submitted. There now exists applicant disqualification software. So based off the things you put in your form or your resume, AI can now systematically categorize you into a bucket of a successful applicant or a non-successful applicant before you even talk to another human being. There is a figure that is 75 to 85% of applications aren't even seen by real humans. On average, it takes 5 to 7 months to land a job if you're spending 11 hours per week on the job search. That's 220 to 308 hours total, by the way. So what does this tell you? Majority of the industry are using a $100 strategy. And if you use this, if you follow this, if you do what struggling people do, you will be unsuccessful and you will as well struggle. We're going to be talking about how you can fix this a little bit later on with the new method, networking. So make sure that you stick around for that. However, let's take a few steps back and go back to the formula that I was talking about earlier on. What exactly do I mean by a 10K effort? The reason most people can't make their first dollar online or large sums of money online is simply for the lack of effort. The moment something gets hard or it gets difficult or you encounter a problem, it's, oh, this is too hard, I want to give up. Maybe you get rejected. Maybe you have a bad sales call. Maybe you have an undesirable result. You need to understand that undesirable results are a pivotal building block to your success. You must fail. You must have things not go your way. Most people send a few messages and have a few sales calls and say, I tried, but it doesn't work. Understand, I literally spent such a long time trying to crack the code to making money online. Years, actually. I lost a ton of time and it was incredibly embarrassing, but I kept pushing forward. I had a delusional level of persistence and consistency, and I continued to put in the work. I grinded my face off. And you must understand, to get to your goals, if it's high enough, you must do everything to get there. You need to be able to say that you gave it your all. Nothing else is acceptable. Module 8. The 3 skills. Okay, so let's talk about the 3 skills that you need to be successful in this industry. Without these skills, if you don't have them, you need to commit to learning them, because without them, you are severely decreasing your chance, not in the short term, but also in the long term with your career and your time in this industry. The 3 main skills that people lack and the mistakes that people make are: number 1, guaranteed placements. Most new salespeople or new people in the industry think that guaranteed placements means automatically, if you get working with a company, it means that you're making money. This argument logically makes almost 0 sense, because if you're pairing new companies with new salespeople, you're going to find out that it's just not going to work out both ways. And a lot of business owners like to double dip, charge new salespeople a hefty fee to help them with growing the business. And the same thing on the other side with high ticket closers and people who are new to this industry. And they try to blend them together. Even worse, if guaranteed placement actually does work for you, what happens when you can't learn the right skills to get a new job? You're screwed, right? You're in a really bad position. So leaning on someone for a guaranteed placement, nothing is guaranteed. You have to understand that, guys, right? The only thing that we're guaranteed in this lifetime is that we're both going to die, you and me watching this video, and that when we both die, we're going to pay more taxes, right? So understand that guaranteed placement is one of the biggest mistakes a lot of people have when they are new to this industry. So how can we, with a proven strategy, find the best opportunities in the industry and increase our chances of getting an interview and getting hired by 75 to 95%? We're going to be talking about networking very, very soon. So pay attention for that, because we're going to be talking about all of it and how you can fix this issue for yourself and how you can find your dream roles and opportunities in this space. Mistake number 2 is offer selection. Most people come in this industry selecting the first offer that comes across their table. A lot of the people that I work with, the main suggestion I make to them is making sure that you have as many interviews as possible, that you're making a selection with a company to work for by choice, not desperation. When you're forced into a scarcity level of mindset, when you're forced into limited thinking, you make emotional decisions. When you make emotional decisions, you work with bad companies. Bad companies can literally set you back weeks, months, up to a year, depending on how well indoctrinated you are in the process. Believe me, I know. Carefully selecting the offer that you want is so incredibly important and critical, and learning what I would like to call as screening skills is one of the most important skills in this entire skill tree, because this is going to allow you to save a ton of time, a ton of money, and a lot of opportunity cost. 5 figures, multiple 5 figures, 6 figures, multi 6 figures. Carefully selecting your role, guys, is one of the most important skills that you can learn. So make sure that you focus on it. What do you want in an offer? What are the red flags to look for? Is it a scam? Is it the right thing to look for? Is it not the right thing to look for? You have to be very aware of these things. And the more that you are, the more money you will make in the less amount of time. If you want to make it even more simple, this can be done very easily by asking 2 questions. What do we want? And does the company align with our goals? Number 3, offer acquisition, aka your interviewing skills. And no, a 10 to 15 minute video training telling you that you should show up on time, wear something nice, and look presentable in good lighting and not in your mother's basement simply doesn't count, right? You need more education, you need advanced training, you need advanced skills on how to interview better than the rest of the sea of the market compared to the rest of the candidates in the entire industry. It's a competitive landscape. You need to make sure that you can persuade, influence, and convince these clients to work with you rather than the X amount of applicants for the same role. You must understand how important this skill is. Once we crack networking, you should have more interviews than you know what to do with. More on that in a second. So, how do we actually sell ourselves to these companies? What are the 3 things that every employer is going to be asking at the back of their mind with every question that they ask? Number 1, are you capable? Can you do the job? Number 2, will you do the job? Do they trust you to do the job? And finally, do they want you to do the job? These questions are all based off capability, reliability, and likability. I'm gonna pop up an image on the screen. This is how you look when you interview correctly. If you don't, you'll just look like every other high ticket closer that's applying for the same job who's already getting 0 results. Guys, you gotta understand, if you do what 90% of the struggling industry will do, you will struggle. To give yourself the best chance of success, you must be committed to extremely over preparing for this interview. A lot of salespeople don't even prepare for interviews, and even if they do, they barely try. Even the most vetted of professionals still just go in thinking that they're the best. And I've had guys who have no experience land roles and opportunities just because they presented themselves much better than the more experienced candidate. We may very well be going into the interview with a company as not the most experienced or the most talented or the most skilled, but we can be the most prepared and the most researched. Preparation is where the battle is fought and the war is won. Each opportunity is different. Each person that you speak to is going to be different, which gives us a drastic competitive advantage over the general sales rep or the general new person in this industry that just assumes that the interview is going to be the same as everybody else, the same as every other interview they've had in their entire life. It's just simply not the case. Okay, so now is the time to research. For me, I like to go to Google and start looking at their website. I like to see the core values of the company because I'm going to structure all my answers around what is on their page. Look for the vision, the mission, the language used, and everything just that you find on their website. From the website, I'm going to their socials. Do they have a Facebook group? Do they have a Facebook page? Do they have an Instagram page? Do they have a personal page? Do they have podcasts? Every intel, every little bit of information that I can get that I can use to my advantage is going to be useful in this circumstance that I'm going to staff. So start with the owner, then work backwards and look at all the work history, look at all the achievements they've had, look at the events in their life, literally look for any bit of intel because you can use all this to your advantage in the interview, which average salespeople, average new people in this industry just simply aren't going to be doing. So put yourself in the shoes of the person that's going to be hiring. What would I look for? What's most important to me? What would I want to hear as an employer? What does a successful applicant look like? Module 9, networking, aka the new way. In 2024, as we've already explored, the absolute worst way to land good opportunities in high ticket sales is through cold DMs. Every marketer talks about it. Every marketer teaches it. Let me let you in on a little secret of mine. It does not work. Let's break this down. Think about this scenario. In what job economy, in what job market do you actually see job applicants succeeding? Everywhere you see it, people are struggling more and more to find good jobs, even if they're incredibly skilled, vetted, and experienced. More on that in a second. If you want a job with a multi-millionaire, you don't just walk up to them on the street and say, "Hey bro, can you hire me? Hey bro, got any jobs going around? Hey bro, I'm a high ticket closer. Can I do sales for you? Hey bro, I'm gonna," like, believe me guys, I have seen all of it. I've seen the worst. I have seen it all. So obviously you wouldn't take that approach. It just simply wouldn't make sense if we put it into the real world, right? If it isn't applicable and doesn't make sense in other industries in the real world, it's probably not going to be applicable here. Why would someone who's uber successful give you the time of day and hand you leads they've paid $100, hundreds of dollars, all the way up to $1,000 to book that call and get that lead onto your calendar? They have no idea who you are. They don't like you. They don't trust you. It makes zero sense and it simply doesn't add up. And this is why the entirety of the industry is struggling to find good jobs, because they're implementing the wrong strategy. Guys, as we've spoken about before, if you do what struggling people do, you will struggle. Success leaves clues. Now, I want you to consider for a second that you're the best salesperson in the world, but you have no leads to sell to, and you can't land a good opportunity for the life of you. You can't find them, you can't close them, aka your interviewing skills, and you don't even know what to look for in the company that's actually going to assure you that it's actually going to allow you to make the money that you want in the first place. Let's get down to the meat of it. I struggled for years, and when I say years, I mean years, to actually crack the code with this and find the exact method and strategy that allowed me to find my dream roles with my dream clients like clockwork. I had spent over $40,000 on sales training and got to the point where I got really good at selling. I had worked with some of the best sales trainers in the world, but I still came up short. I still couldn't crack between 8 and 12K a month fairly consistently. And then it finally hit me. I look back on what had made me so successful in the past. How had I got all my roles in sales, even my first retail job? How had I got the best positions possible? It was networking. This was the key to everything. So let's talk about the who you know numbers. When you consider the hiring data available, a few statistics highlight that when it comes to landing an initial interview, it's not what you know, it's who you know. Research from LinkedIn shows that in 2016, a whopping 70% of people were hired at a company where they already had a connection in place. That should be all the motivation you need to learn how to leverage your network to get referred by someone. At the most desirable companies, the number is higher, with 95% landing jobs because of connections, right? A study completed by Lever ATS indicated that once interviewed, a referred candidate has a 20x higher chance of getting hired than someone who applied online for a critical job. When you're referred by a source trusted by the hiring manager, that number increases to 50x. Now that you understand the context, I'm going to break down exactly how you can start networking and having a better strategy so you can land your dream role ASAP. And basically, put yourself light years ahead of your competition. All it starts with is talking to people within the companies that you want to work with. Step 1, set a goal. What hours do you want to work? In what position? Setter or closer? How much money do you want to make? Flexible schedule? Fixed schedule? Do you want to work for a certain industry? It should look a little something like this. I want to be a closer making 8K a month, working part-time hours on a flexible schedule in the personal development space. Step number 2 is you're going to build a list. You're going to go out and hunt for your dream companies and you're going to build a list of them. You can find your dream companies through LinkedIn, Facebook, Google, YouTube. There's so many different ways to find the dream companies you want to work with. Remember here, when you're talking to these people, you're not asking for a job. You're looking for information, you're looking for contacts, you're looking for helpers. And again, all you want to do is connect with individuals at the company that you want to work for. So how do you do that? That leads me to step number 3, which is sending this message. Hey, John. Give them a personalized compliment. I'm looking to get into X industry doing sales and have ran into some roadblocks along the way. Would you be willing to help me out? I would appreciate being able to ask you 3 questions in a very brief, quick 20-minute meeting. Thanks. Your name. Done. Now, don't copy this template word for word because thousands and thousands and thousands of people will watch this video. So you're all going to be doing the same thing. If you reach out with the same message, it's not going to work and it's simply going to become saturated and outdated. So use it as a framework, not as a copy and paste. Step 4 is talking to people and building relationships. Again, the goal of networking meetings and networking connections and building a network is not to get a job directly straight away. It's the big mistake a lot of people make. It's to get information, it's to get contacts, it's to get helpers, right? That's all that we're aiming to do here. Okay, so what do you actually say in these meetings? Well, first off, you're gonna have to give a good first impression. This typically takes about 2 to 3 minutes. Firstly, express gratitude and thank them for taking the time out of the day and spending 20 minutes to actually speak with you, right? You're asking a lot of someone, so make sure that you're grateful. Then you're probably gonna have a bit of chit chat, build rapport as you would normally do with anybody in any normal conversation, as you would in sales. And then you're gonna set the agenda. Okay, so today I really just wanted to give you a quick overview about me, myself, my goals, and what I'm looking to achieve. And I'm hoping to ask you 3 very quick, brief questions. And the set time I have for this meeting is about 20 minutes. Is that okay by you? And so what you would do is you'll run through from that point and you'll go through the next parts of this structure. The next step is giving an overview of you. Who are you? Why do you do what you do? What are you aiming to achieve? And typically you want to keep this around 60 seconds, but here are some general guidance points as to what you can do to introduce yourself in the most quick and efficient manner possible. Refer to relevant professional and educational experience. Talk about any awards or achievements that you've got. Talk about your goals and aspirations. And finally, sell them your story. Why should they care about you? Why should they help you, right? The next step is discussion. This is typically going to take you about 12 to 15 minutes in total length. So you're actually going to prepare 3 questions, but you're actually going to ask 5. I'm going to give you the last 2 that you're going to ask at the end of the call. The questions can come from your research. Here's a very simple formula to follow. Observation from research paired with a contextually relevant question. John, I noticed that you did sales training with Jordan Belfort earlier in your career. Would you say that has been a massive benefit to you in regards to X, Y, and Z? At the moment, I'm seeing that you're selling in Amazon FBA. I'm just curious what you sold in the past and whether or not you think that it was a benefit to you, to your current sales career and where you are right now. Pretty basic, you guys should get the gist. The last 2 questions that you're going to ask is, who do you know that? Who else do you know within your circle or within your network that I can talk to about their experience with X, Y, and Z? What this question does is it gets us contacts. And then finally, how can I help you? How can you be valuable to the person? Now, they may not be able to come up with something that you can help them with, but come up with an idea based off your research. If you can't help them then and there, have that at the back of your mind that you want to always add value to this person, whether or not it's a connection, whether or not it's an insight, whatever you can do to help that person, you want to do so because they've given you your time and their time is valuable, just as it is yours. And it's pretty to understand how well this can work, because the more conversations you have of these, the more you stack up, the more people you know, the faster you will get referrals. And referrals, as we know, are incredibly effective at landing our dream roles. Networking is just the large sum of two things: the frequency and the quality of people that you are connected with. If you execute on this correctly and you have the right strategy and you have the right feedback, you should have more interviews than you actually know what to do with. Now, that was a lot. That was more information than I wish I could have ever had when I first got started in this industry and started learning about high ticket sales. Over the last 5 years, I've spent over $55,000 directly into my sales training and education. I've taken thousands of sales calls. I've spent thousands of hours studying sales, trying to get good at it, and really mastering this industry. Does it have to take you this long? And do you have to spend that same amount of money? No, of course not. Because remember when I said a little bit earlier about getting a mentor? If you're in my training program and you have access to all the content and the information and the right strategy, the mentorship and the guidance that you need, there's only two ways that you can be unsuccessful. Number one, you don't put in the 10K effort that we spoke about earlier. And number two is that you just simply give up. I've cracked the formula to high ticket sales so well that I'm seeing guys get results faster than I ever thought possible. After you have the process down of getting good sales skills, networking, interviewing, and screening offers, there is literally no way that you don't see success with this. You absolutely put yourself in the position where you can eventually quit your job and start pursuing this full time if you aren't already. A lot of people think that making money online and success in high ticket sales is actually really difficult. This could be further from the truth. If you have a 10K strategy and a 10K effort, it's simply undeniable that you'll be successful. Getting to 8 to 12K a month full time with this is actually not that difficult if you know what you're doing. So let me break down how this entire mastermind is structured. Pillar number one is the education and skills training. This training is the accumulation of every lesson, insight, and learning that I've had over the past 5 years. Sales skills, navigating the industry, interviews, screening offers, you name it, it's there. Pillar number two is coaching. Every single week, you'll be able to hop on with me live in a group setting and ask me any question you want with anything that you need about whatever. And then there's pillar number three, which is the community. You get access to a community of people who are already on the way to achieving what you want to achieve, or who have already achieved it, which makes it that much more real for you. These are people all across the world, not a dead Discord or a Facebook group or anything like that. A community that's full of active and engaged people trying to do what you're trying to do. Pillar number four is one-on-one mentorship. The difference here is not you're just talking to some random guy on someone's team. You're going to be talking to me every day with anything that you need about whatever, personal, professional, whatever you need. You'll be able to tap into a source of knowledge and talk to someone who's been where you want to go and is many steps ahead of you. I've invested collectively $170,000, $180,000 in my own education, training, and skills by this point. And believe me when I tell you, there is not an issue or a roadblock or a problem that I have not seen that will come up that is new to me. I know exactly what's going to happen in the next stage. I know exactly where you're starting out. I can meet you where you are at. This is not a course. This is not a coaching program. This is a mentorship. The transformation typically looks like this. On average, it takes about 30 to 60 days for all of our clients to land their dream role with their first company if they're putting in the effort and doing the things that we tell them to. That role could be as a setter or as a closer. In that role, because of your lack of experience and lack of skill, sometimes you can be typically making between $3,000 and $6,000 a month. You can actually go way faster than this, but I want to be super conservative here. Typically, after a bit of experience, you will be able to eventually progress and make more money on your current offer, transition from setter to closer, where you can make 8 to 12K a month, or you end up finding a better offer that can make you more money, working less hours, and you love the job that you work in. That's the best part, which if you have the strategy on what to do and the guidance that you need, you should be able to execute on this fairly easily. Typically, most of our clients find the sweet spot of 8 to 12K a month within about a 3 to 6 month time frame. To do this, you have to be networking and having a 10K strategy and a 10K effort in place. You'll generate more offers than you know what to do with, and then you'll pick the right offer because you'll know the right questions to ask, how to screen those opportunities, and you'll be able to lean on someone with experience that's been doing this for such a long time, who's seen every single offer out there and can really lean on to a mentor for experience. Having all of this in place is insanely valuable. Hence why you'll see on my Instagram page hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of jobs landed, testimonials, all through my results highlights. I'm basically posting them on my Instagram daily at this point. If you're still not convinced, check out the playlist on my channel labeled Case Studies, and you'll see a ton of guys' stories who are probably exactly like you. And the reason I'm so confident in this strategy, this skill, this vehicle is because I've done it myself. 5 years, full time in fact, as I'm sure you already heard it already in this video up until now, right? It just works. If you're willing to put in the effort, you're willing to put in the time, you will make money. And the reason I'm so confident with this strategy, this skill, this vehicle, is it's so replicable with any person that's willing to put in the time and the effort. But again, this mastermind isn't for everybody. If you're actually dedicated and you're interested, you can click a link down below, apply through the form to see if you may be a fit for the mentorship and the mastermind. Basically, all we're going to do is find out if you're going to be a fit for what we do. And if you are, we're going to start working together in the mastermind and start taking you through the steps and leading you through the path that I have walked for such a long time. And this is only for people who are truly dedicated to making this work. I don't want anybody who's going to be in my mastermind or my program or my training that's going to drag the name of it down and not get any results. I'm only looking for people that are seriously committed. The only point of this entire mastermind is to get you into my next higher level of training, which is going to be much more expensive, by the way, with the goal in mind from taking you from 8 to 12K a month to 15 to 20 to 30 and so on. And obviously I know you're not going to join a 5-figure investment training program if you haven't already seen some success already. That's why I implemented this strategy, but you've already seen success before you join another big program. Basically, just join first into the RSA mastermind, which will enable you to get to 8 to 12K a month. And then we move over to the big boy program. I only make good money if you make money. So if you're interested, click the link down below, sign up for a one-on-one call, and I'll talk to you very soon.